Greetings and salutations. You're listening to Frontline Records Rewind. Today, I, Brian Healy, will be guest hosting, interviewing Michael Knott, the man, the myth, the legend. You recorded an album about 110 years ago called The Grape Prophet, and it's the story of a person named Ellis.
None of which these records are.
Neither of these records are here, but by now you're probably seeing the graphic on the screen for The Grape Prophet. Michael, tell us the story of Ellis and what the purpose of The Grape Prophet is and what it's about.
Okay, it's quite interesting. I'll try to make it quick.
I'm sorry, were you talking?
One of my spiritual little idols was John Wimber. Mm-hmm. And he started out with Chuck Smith Sr., who's another one of my idols. I'm more scared of Chuck Smith Sr. They both passed away then.
I was going to say now or before?
The same.
I don't think he's going to haunt you.
We don't know that. But anyway, the point is that my wife and I, we just got married and we're going to the vineyard. And all of a sudden, these prophets they're called the Grape Prophets, or the Great Prophets, but I call them the Grape Prophets because the vineyard's the grapes. Mm-hmm. And Calvary's the oranges.
Okay.
So Wimber leaves the oranges to do the vineyards.
Which are the grapes.
Which, well done. You follow well. And he was more into spiritual awakening and different things like that. And Chuck Sr. was more into strict teaching, blah, 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 like that, right? Which is awesome, too. But anyway, so all of a sudden...
Doctrinal blah, blah, blah,
all
blah.
of a sudden, John Wimber brings in these prophets from Kansas City, which were called the Kansas City Prophets, but they weren't really from Kansas City.
Go figure that.
Because Kansas City's actually in, what is it, Missouri?
Well, Kansas City's in Missouri, which should have tipped you off right there.
Well, what
There's
happened?
a Kansas City,
right,
Kansas, but no one goes there.
So I'm looking at my wife, Wendy, I go, this seems pretty weird. So the guy's talking, this Kansas City prophet, this older guy, and he's talking, and he has a guy with him that came with him, and they told John Wimber that there would be an earthquake before they showed up. So somehow there was an earthquake in California. Then they showed up the next day at his doorstep, and then John Wimber bought it. So then they were leading the church, these Kansas City prophets. And so the prophet would speak in riddles.
Okay.
And John would be sitting there back on his... John's so cool, like, sit back on it. He did praise and worship and stuff, and he was just letting these guys go for it. And so then the great prophet had this younger guy that would interpret. So the great prophet would say, we sat together and we supped. And there'd be like 3,000 people out there going, and I'm looking at my wife going,
I had dinner with Jesus.
well, basically, we made that part up. But the guy said basically what he's saying is he had lunch with Jesus. That's the interpreter. And look at Winnie.
What did Jesus have?
I don't know, but he showed us gold tablets that we can't tell what they're about. I'm looking at Winnie, I go, you're kidding me. This is not happening. We are not in this church anymore. Mm-hmm. So I tell my friends, I go, this is not right. We're gone. So all of our friends that we came to our wedding, that were our best friends, ostracized us and said, laters, goodbye to you, because you don't believe that this is real. I go, it's not that I don't believe it's real. It's freaking asinine. Are you guys out of your effing minds? He supped with Jesus. They gave him gold tablets that he can't tell. What the hell's going on in this world? We're out of the vineyard.
You sound like you're a little upset about this, Michael.
Okay, so I go, Wendy, I got to write this record. She goes, I don't know if you should write it right now. I go, okay. So I waited a year and I wrote the record. It's called The Grape Prophet. And a couple years later, John Wimber repented of following these great prophets which were not of God. And then brought the whole vineyard back to the fold and everything's fine. But anyway, that's what the record's about. It's about standing up and going, this is freaking wrong. And I don't care if we're going to lose all of our friends. I know this is wrong. And even though I almost worship, not like God, but John Wimber, and I love his son, Chris Wimber, who was in a band with me, I got to say no. Not going for it, buddy. Not freaking happening. It made for a good 5 years of hell for me and my wife.
So did you find yourself being rejected by then your peers and fellow churchmates?
Not anymore. I'm loved by them.
Oh, that's
They
good.
love me.
So it's all worked out then.
It's definitely worked out.
So is that what Ellis confronts on the album, since it is a concept album?
Okay, here's Ellis, right? Ellis is in the orchard. Starts out.
Right.
So it's my second rock opera of 3.
Okay.
That's funny as heck, right?
Yeah,
I wrote 3 rock operas.
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
Anyway, it's my second rock opera. It starts out with Ellis. He's in the orchard. He's picking baskets of oranges.
Okay.
And the Colonel Peckison, which represents Chuck Sr.,
Okay.
says, "Where are all the basket lines? Where are all the pickers gone?" And Ellis looks down at him.
Long time passing.
And he goes, "They've gone to work on the grapevines." And Ellis fell down on his face. He looked at Colonel Peckison and he said, which is Chuck Smith Sr., "All your orange juice has gone to waste. Pick a cent, pick up a cent, pick up a cent, pick up a cent, pick a cent, pick up the cent and find where they've gone." And that's how the whole movie starts.
That might be the worst pitch for your record I've ever heard in my life. What's it really about?
People that like to dance in tights.
There you go. I just wanted to write a couple tunes and didn't want to get into anything heavily theological. Okay.
Do we have to keep going on? Okay, that's it. But anyway,
so Ellis progresses, and as you have on the, why don't we go into this now? You've already told the story how they had the guy who is an English interpreter of English.
Right, sorry about that song. You want to? Should we play it now?
Just play it now.
Let me just pretend like we're going
to. Oh, you're
going to
play
this
it now.
Second.
I think you should go for that.
I am the English interpreter of English. When the great prophet speaks, I tell you what he says. I am the English interpreter of English. When the great prophet speaks, I tell you what he says. You. Yes. He speaks in riddles, so it's hard to understand him. He speaks in poetry that only I can bend. He speaks in parables, 'cause Christ is so much like him. And when the great prophet speaks, I tell you what he said. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh.
Ole.
I tell you what he says. Thank you, Brian. I tell you what he says. Give me a little background here. I tell you what he says. 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 I want everyone to sing along right now in the English interpreter of English. Come on, here we go. I am the English interpreter of English. Oh, yeah. When the great prophet speaks, I tell you what he says. I am the English interpreter of English. When the great prophet speaks, I tell you he says what he says. It's off the Grape Prophet, English interpreter of English by Michael Knott. Hey, that version was the best one you've done all day.
I liked where you kicked in at the tail there, man.
I thought you'd like that. That was pretty nice of me.
You screwed it up a little bit at the end, but we came back into the fold.
Well, yeah, we came back. Speaking of which, there's another nice song on the album called "The Fold," which also tells the story. What is that song particularly trying to convey?
Well, Ellis finally makes his journey to the up north to the
Vineyards.
The vineyards. Thank you. Gosh, that was tough.
Woo! Man, I felt like a dentist.
We're bright. He makes himself up to the vineyards, and he hears this, "Come
into the fold. This beautiful voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when they used to have sailors, they would run into the rocks because the sirens would come into the fold, and they couldn't help themselves but steer into the rocks and die. So he goes and he joins
So
the vineyard.
Have you always
and follows the prophets for a short time.
always pursued analogies in your songwriting, or is that just something that naturally happened, or is that something you had to work at?
Just born that way.
Okay, that's good. Natural talent. So here's the fold off the Grape Prophet. Hi, we're on YouTube. Hopefully, we'll be as successful as Justin Bieber, but don't count on it. You're listening to Frontline Records Rewind on YouTube. Grace and peace. That was the fold off the Grape Prophet. So we move the story along. Ellis confronts the prophets, calls them out, and there's a couple unusual songs. Red is the Wino.
Wino of the Red is Stained.
Rhino as the Red is Stained. And then She Said. And then you do something really interesting. You end it on an instrumental.
That's true.
But you pretty much tell the whole wrap-up of the story in the second to last song. And this is off the Grape Prophet. And it's called She Said. Well, you can find Frontline Records Rewind and some of the Frontline products on Spotify. Why did you end it on an instrumental as opposed to doing the big wrap-up?
Well, because I thought I wrapped it up already, and it was just kind of we got a great guy on the saxophone, and Doidge wrote this song with me. So it just shows how sad it was that even had to happen to a church that was so brilliant, you know. But they came out of it, they made it through, and it's a wonderful church today.
Well, human frailty seems to be a subject matter you return to quite often in your music.
That's because I'm so perfect that I just wonder what it's like.
I can imagine that.
Yeah. I know it's a tough
Man.
one. All right, let's move into your record. Are you ready, brother?
No, not at all. We're still talking about your stuff. You need to tell me about Heaven High.
We're going to my second record now?
That's right.
Heaven High, okay. Well,
first of all, you did it with Joshua Laurie and who else?
day. Josh Laurie, a bunch of other brilliant people.
How'd you guys ever connect?
Josh Laurie?
Yeah.
I met him at a gig, I guess, and he bought a painting of mine when he was going through a hard time. And or his parents bought him a painting of mine 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. And we became really good buddies. And he's been such a wonderful friend and promoter of my stuff ever since. It's just unbelievable, this guy. So the guy, is amazing. So the funny part is, we do this record, and he goes, "Why don't you pick a saint to be on the cover?" I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, why don't you pick a saint?" I said, "Okay." So I'm trying to pick a saint, and I'm thinking.
So we sent him a picture of St. Paul, Minnesota.
He's like, "That's not what I meant."
Yeah.
But I found a picture of Saint Clare that was done in, I think, 15. Well, it says it right here. I can't read it right now, but
yeah,
she's the first follower of Saint Francis of Assisi.
Okay.
And she found the Poor Clares, and so I put her on the cover, and it's kind of how that happened.
So what's the concept behind Heaven High?
Well, it's not a rock opera.
Okay, it's not a rock opera, but there's always an underlying thread in everything you do.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit about her in it. Mm-hmm. If you ever studied her life, there's a guy that was completely super wealthy. Well, of course, St. Francis was wealthy before he gave all his dad's money away. But there was another guy that was a very wealthy...
benefactor.
Right. And he was in love with her. And she chose the celibate life and to follow St. Francis in what do you call it?
Cloister?
Cloister, right.
Seclusion?
Right, where there's
monastery.
There's bars like
I'm running out of crossword puzzle
they have
answers
bars
here.
in front of them, and you can't touch them. You got, oh man,
they've got.
I mean, look at
bars in
Saint
front.
Clare. Is she gorgeous or what?
Well, people are listening. They really can't see it, Mike.
Oh.
But if you hold it up to the microphone, they might see it better.
Like that?
That's better. Yeah.
So anyway, no, it's kind of a story about how she was a little wild. She was just a little bit wild, but not super wild. So I threw some songs that I'd already written in there too, and then some new ones and what have you. And then it's kind of a bombastic love fest of hope and truth.
Cool. Well, why don't we play, what do you want to play off that?
Well, why don't we play Heaven High?
Well, I thought you already did.
No, we haven't done that yet.
Oh, okay. Hey, we're going to do Heaven High. Mike's going to do it for you live.
We actually did it 30 minutes ago.
We did it 30 minutes ago. We're lying.
Okay. But don't lie in front of St. Clare.
No, I won't lie in front of St. Clare.
I can hear you.
I once lied in front of St. Bernard.
One's got a compass and another's got a maze. One's pushing harder for the clamor that he faced. And I don't mind getting heaven high. And I don't mind getting heaven high. One sees the future through the hurting eyes of old. One finds redemption in a newborn child's soul. One never sleeps at night and another one never wakes. One gives it all away to make up for my mistakes. And I don't mind getting heaven high. And I don't mind getting heaven high.
Goodbye, lonely days, goodbye. I said goodbye, lonely days, goodbye. And I don't mind getting heaven high. And I don't mind getting heaven high. Goodbye, lonely days, goodbye. Well, what'd you think of that one, Brian?
Well, you know, I really liked it, Mike.
Thank
And of
you.
all
I
the
appreciate
songs
it.
that you've played today, I've got to definitely say that was one of them.
One's got a compass and another's got a maze. One's pushing harder for the mountains that he pays. I don't mind getting heaven high. I don't mind getting heaven high. One sees the future through the hurting eyes of old. One finds redemption in a newborn child's soul. One never sleeps at night, another never wakes. One gives it all away to make up for my mistakes. And I don't mind getting heaven high. I don't mind getting heaven high. Goodbye, lonely days, goodbye. Goodbye, lonely days, goodbye. One's got a fortress and another's got a rock. One's moving backwards for the past that she's forgot. One's spinning out about a world that isn't right. One's got his hands up, just giving up the fight. And I don't mind getting heaven high. And I don't mind getting heaven high. Goodbye, lonely days, goodbye.
Well, we're still talking to Mike about his record. So what other song did you want to do, Mike, since we got you here?
Well, one of my faves.
Okay.
One of my faves. This really kind of sets up my whole life, you know. I'm a flawed Christian, if you will. Or if you won't, I still will be.
Okay. Well, that's good. It's nice to admit your sins.
I haven't admitted a sin at all.
Well, it's
I
nice
said
to,
I'm flawed.
Well, it must nice be, to be pious.
Now we're getting closer to the sins.
It's like a bear trap, dude. Anywhere you go, I'm going to step on it.
That's okay. But I would like to do one song here.
Okay, Mike's going to do another song.
I don't even know what key is in, but I'm just going to jump into it because it's like jumping in a pool.
You said that so sincere. I'm sorry.
I'm changing it up a little bit, making something new. Is that okay?
Yeah, you got my permission.
Yeah. Put your hands on the stereo. Put your mind on the river row. Put your heart in the confessional and be healed. Put your hands on the stereo. Put your mind in the river row. Put your heart in the confessional and be healed. He heals. You've been seen with a stiff lip. It happens to the best when the pain grips. Beaten by the bell and all you do. You thought hell was a place you go to. I'm talking to you. This is the healing. Give me the tears from all your bitter years. And put your hands on the stereo. Put your heart on the river road. Put your life in the confessional and be healed. Be healed. Be healed. Ooh, 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 ooh. Heaven is a place one goes to. We'll be waking up
So early in the morning going surf, surf, surf with God. We'll be outside where the big waves are forming. Surf, surf, surf with God.
I got my
board on the back.
brought a Bible
For you, let's go. Surf, surf, surf. Rock. You're not gonna
Yeah.
rock.
Surf with God.
Surf, surf. Oh yeah,
Okay, yeah, that was
really
beautifully
good.
bad.
Yeah, that was good. That
Did you hear about that surfer that just got attacked by the shark?
Yeah, I saw. He punched the shark right in the nose.
That was brilliant.
Punching the shark in the nose.
Well, here's the thing that he
Not
said.
if you're the shark. You went
He's
for
like
the wrong guy.
He's like the he's been the world champion for 3 years.
The shark.
Well, 10 years for that guy, but I mean, the guy, I'm talking about the surfer.
Okay. We'll be waking up so early in the morning going surf, surf, surf.
It's funny to laugh at a guy. The guy woke up this morning and they interviewed him again. He's like, I can't believe I got to do another interview. He
Yeah,
goes,
exactly.
Okay, I woke up this morning. Well, it was with a South African accent. I woke up this morning and I was crying and they don't call the leash. They don't call the leash. Here's what they call it. He's gonna hate me if he hears this, but and then yeah.
We'll be waking up so
Okay,
early
I know what it's called. I know it's called. And then the shark came and he took the board cord. They call it a board cord.
Board cord?
Yeah, we call it a leash in America.
Yeah, they call it a board cord.
Yeah, he took the board. I don't know if it was he or she, but it goes. It took the board cord and just took me under. And I thought, wow, goodbye.
So you just don't get these kind of ministry touches on every
Right, and then I heard later that my mom, I got the worst accent.
Praise
My mom
be to
was
God.
watching me on television, and she ran over to the television, thinking that she could pull me out of the water and save me from the shark. Didn't happen. Is it true? True story. All right.
We'll be waking up so early in the morning going surf, surf, surf with God. We'll be outside with the big waves of forming going surf, surf, surf with God. Got my board in the back, Bible for you. Let's go surf, surf, surf with God.
Solo.
Well, on the path here of, keeping the surf thing going, Mike once again waxed laconic over surfing in Oh Baby off Heaven High.
Oh baby, wanna slip in the sun in the honey time. Wanna hang with the local crazies, won't be with you, oh baby. Winter set's coming in, the summer never ends. They're having way too much fun lately, as long as I'm with you. Oh baby, wanna paddle outside, let's all go get a ride. Have fun, the sunshine saves me, as long as it's with you. Oh baby, no side south, I'll be taking you out. Having fun, the sunshine saves me, as long as it's with you. Every morning when the sun comes up, we do everything we do in love. And every night when the sun goes down, everything we do in love. Love, oh baby. Do you wanna ride on the sunside? Let's go to Huntington, South Swells jumping. Baby, become a breeze, if I could get some air. Baby, you're there for me. Oh.
I'm so excited. Brian Healy's back in the studio on Frontline Rewind.
Boy, aren't I lucky.
Hey, Brian, we're talking about a lot of great music. Do you remember where you can find it? I know it's been a while.
Well, frontlinerecords.us.
Yes.
Frontline on iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
And Frontline's got stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
Anywhere, if you just Google the old Frontline Records, you can find the Frontline Records Rewind. You can go to the frontlinerecords.us website and find all of your best favorite classic. There's another adjective I'm running out of here. Legacy Christian music. Well, the next one off Heaven High is I Love It When. It's about seeing things from a totally different perspective when you had another perspective to begin with. Here it is off Heaven High.
Take the whole world and rip it out of your hands. When can you turn a fallen human back to stand? I love it when I see something different in the picture. I love it when I see something different in the track. How do you mix the colors and make it shine like they do? same way. Leaves you nothing for a life to fill. Finding a soul is open, gives another heart to feel. I love it when I see something different in the picture. I love it when I see something hopeful in the norm. I love it when I see something different in the picture. I love it when I see something hopeful in the norm.
So anyway, buy the Grape Prophet for Michael and Heaven High, and we sell these coasters as well for Dead Artist Syndrome. And go out and get your copy. And now me and Mike are going to go out on, I don't even know what song.
I like your look, what you're going with here. What is it?
It's a shirt.
I appreciate you in a shirt.
Yeah, we wear clothing now.
Okay.
It's not like our wayward youth.
Is there anything you, excuse me, is there anything you like to go out on?
Oh man, let me think.
Besides, let's
God,
see what we got. What do we have to choose from here?
I'm trying to think of a song you know that I know that.
We don't have one of those.
I had something old to say. I had nothing new today. I found something I can sing. I had you just last spring. I found something to cool the pain. I've got nothing that feels the same. I moved you forever. I got over you never. The Cadillac flies while the holy die away. The Cadillac flies while the holy die away. There is always a way in. There is monetary wins. Don't be fooled by wishing wells. Tried to save our souls from hells. The Cadillac flies while the holy die away. I had nothing new to say. I had nothing new to pray. The Cadillac flies while the holy die away. The Cadillac flies while the holy dies away. The Cadillac flies while the holy die away. The Cadillac flies while the holy die away.
Okay, now we're gonna move on
girlfriend
to
in a
the.
coma.
Now we're gonna move on to the Dead Artist Syndrome. Look out, it's called DAS. Hold on to yourselves.
Thanks.
Don't hurt yourselves.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that ringing endorsement.
Okay.